that was being beaten by her baby's dad. She was 21 years old, she had a 6-month-old baby, and she wanted to come and stay with us. And on February 16, 2002, my 14-year-old daughter, she's 22 now, but at the age of 14, we returned home from the store, running a couple of errands. So I sent her into the garage, into the house to open the garage door, and she came back to me. And as any parent, I'm like, what are you doing? I told you to open the door. And she just had this stoic look on her face. I got out of the car. You know how you know something's wrong with your child? And I said, baby girl, what is it? She said, Mommy, the house is all smoky and Kenya is lying on the floor. And so I went into the house, and just as she said, the house was smoky. There was a pot of food. It had disintegrated, so the pot had melted on the stove. The house was smoked. So I thought my 21-year-old niece had probably succumbed to smoke inhalation. So I ran in the house, and grace of God, I got the pot off the stove, or what have you. And then I thought about the baby. I ran upstairs and got the baby off the bed, and the baby, was crying. It had cried itself to sleep, and then when I picked it up, she just grabbed me and continued crying, probably fussing at why she was left alone. I ran back downstairs, and I noticed there was a hole in Kenya's face, and there was a pool of blood. I dialed 911. My daughter stood at the doorway, that same look on her face, and we became a murder-homicide that evening. My 21-year-old niece was shot in the face, left lying there in the doorway, in the foyer, in our home. We were the breaking news story probably about 3 weeks, 4 weeks into coma. And over a course of 8 months, after investigation, after interrogation, it literally turned our family, our life upside down. I was a victim, my husband was a victim, everybody was suspicious. And their 50 years of homicide, they see some of everything. So they bring you into starting very close, and then they branch out. Well, through that process, 3 months, 6 months, and we still did not know who had murdered this child, this young woman. And then one day, I was at Bible study at church. When we go to, when we want to get released, those of us who are based in faith, we go to our churches. And I was coming home from Bible study, and at the time we had pagers, and it just kept blowing, it just kept going off continuously. And when I got home, I answered, I finally got to the phone, and my husband's on there. It's like, where are you? Where is? I just came from Bible study. I go every Thursday. And he says, well, I'm on my way. I'm like, well, what's going on? He says, you haven't seen the TV? I said, no. And so I looked at the TV, and there's John Muhammad's picture on the screen as the DC sniper. And for those of you who don't know, John Muhammad was a member of the community. He was a husband, father. He owned a car repair business, express car repair business, and he fixed almost everybody's car in Tacoma. He was just that good. He's been in their house. He had a key to Dr. Mims' house, so she loved that, first, that service, that catering that and John was like a son to her.
He was like a son.
He was like a son. And she could get her, at the time, Jaguar fixed really cheap. So, but here is this man, on the TV screen as the DC sniper. Well, little did I know, as I started thinking back, there was a tie-in with John and myself. Over the course of a few years, John Muhammad and his wife, Mildred Muhammad, ended up going through some marital discord, domestic violence, but it was on an abusive side. The business that they had started, and I was their accountant for like 5 or 6 years, because that's the kind of work that I did with most businesses. The business began to come into some financial problems. John began to miss appointments. We got money missing, but you still got parts. So there's just things that accounting, shows you that there's something wrong in the business. And it got to the point to where Mildred and John, I was mostly dealing with Mildred. She said, I can't really afford to pay you. So I'm gonna have to, reduce the services. And I said, well, wonderful couple. She always paid my invoices on time. So I wasn't about to just abandon her in a tight moment. So I told her, let's just do the taxes. I'll show you what to do, and you do this and follow this paperwork and stuff that I set up for her, and she did, and she maintained her book. So I didn't see her for a while. During that time, they had ended up getting a separation pending a divorce. And one day, John, on a visitation day, when they were separated, went to the school and picked the children up to go get them something to eat and buy them some new coats. Well, I hadn't seen John and Mildred in a while. I didn't even know that they were estranged. But I knew it was Mildred's mom's birthday, and I went over to her house, and to say happy birthday, say hello to the kids. And there I was at the front door, and I usually did, the children usually come and call me auntie and run up and hug me, and they weren't there. And Mildred was there talking to her brother.